Hello, welcome to Divine Alchemy. My name is Shantae, and I am very excited to share this little secret with you. To be honest, I don't know if I should be sharing it, but it's something that I discovered on my spiritual path that completely changed the way that I look at myself and the way that I look at us as humans and who we really are and what we're really capable of. So I used to think spirituality was like a very simple relationship of a divine creator and then creation. And it's like this two-way relationship. And that was it. That was it. And it was really simple. And when I went on my spiritual path and I started to dive deeper into things and meditate on things and, start to see the interrelationship between things, I realized that us as humans, we have a much greater station than we realize. And a lot of this has been hidden, it's been very subtly hinted at, but you really need to dive deeply if you want to find it. And I'm just going to share this with you here on this channel and save you all that time. And it's so bizarre that you might not believe me, and that's okay. Go on your path and go and find it yourself. Go and find this meaning yourself. But once you find it, like, you won't look at humans the same way. You won't look at your life the same way. So let's begin with the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean the Big Bang. So we know that creation started with a ball of fire, the Big Bang. And then everything evolved from there over time, billions and billions of years. And that's how we are where we are today. And what I know from a spiritual perspective is that the Big Bang and everything that we see in this solar system was initiated by the word B, and two letters intertwined together, B, which then formed creation. So in the spiritual world, there was an instruction, B, and then the whole world was created over billions and billions of years, and everything evolved, and that's how we see the world today. But what's really interesting is that there's a lot more to this story. I think, whatever your belief system, the world that we live in is so intelligent, and nature is so perfect in its complexity that it would be impossible to not have an intelligence. I mean, we can't. Science is really interesting because scientists are basically either, they either sit on one side or the other in the other camp. They're either completely atheist, so they don't believe in a divine being, or they actually see science as a spiritual expression of the divine. But I find it hard to think that there isn't a divine intelligence behind it all, because then what happened before the Big Bang? And what's really interesting is that Stephen Hawkings, who is a famous physicist, and he put together an equation which was related to the Big Bang, and he doesn't believe in anything beyond the physical. And so he couldn't prove that there wasn't something before the Big Bang, because then you have to think, well, what was there before it? Like, what is nothingness? Like, what is blackness when there is no black? This is where things get really fascinating. So what he did was, in his equation that demonstrated the Big Bang, he actually changed it so that the Big Bang was preceded by a Big Bang, which was preceded by a Big Bang, which was preceded by a Big Bang. And what's wild is that what he did was actually continue to prove the divine, because Baha'u'llah talks about this. He talks about how this creation began with fire and it began with the Big Bang. But he says that we've been through this cycle before, but it looked different to what it is now. But it was the same concept of a spark of fire and an explosion, and then all these different materials that then eventually over billions and billions of years formed planets and solar systems and gravity and creatures and everything that we see now. But we've had a Big Bang before. So a lot of people think, oh, life began with the Big Bang. It's like, no, 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 no. It's happened before. It's wild, right? And it starts with B. It's a command of B, which is really cool. Now, where this gets really interesting is when we look at us as humans. I always heard and was aware that we've been given this high station. Like Baha'u'llah talks about this all the time. Like, oh, you have a high station, we've been given this high noble station. I'm like, yeah, we're good and kind and loving, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize till I really read his writings and had to really pause that what he's actually talking about is our station is much higher than just being the lover and the beloved, like just being, this beautiful little spark that wants to return home to a divine being and, grow and evolve spiritually, that we've actually been given power. We've been given spiritual power. And it's actually part of the makeup of everything. It's like gravity. It's like oxygen. It's like a lot of the fundamental laws of physics. There are fundamental laws in the spiritual worlds that only when you kind of look between the lines, or you just sit and pause at one sentence that he's written, then you start to realize. And a lot of this can be realized through meditation as well. But his writings are really special because it's the first place that I've really seen someone dabble into spirituality like that broadly, and understanding mysticism and what's really going on beyond, okay, we've got a soul and a creator. So Baha'u'llah talks about how everything must have an animating principle and an animating force, and that all of the sciences and arts and innovation in the world actually is drawn from the most spiritually evolved humans. See, I used to think that everything came from a creator, right? And we're just this kind of open portal, and we just got to, open up more to get more from this portal. And it's a two-way simple relationship. There's nothing else about it. And of course we want to be kind and loving to each other, but that was a very simple way of looking at it. But it's far more complex than that. And I'll tell you more in a moment. So everything that we see in this world, every innovation, every art, every expression, every advancement in society that we see, the generating impulse, because creation is a spiritual expression. So creation as in the Big Bang, creation as in science and technology, it's actually spiritual, the expression of creation. Anything that happens in this world that we see, that we've ever seen, and that we see today and that we will see in the future, is actually generated from the most advanced souls. Whether those souls live on earth right now, or they're already in the spiritual world, or they're on other earths. This is what is so fascinating, because you as a soul, you actually become a portal to generate spiritual impulses in the world, a spiritual force in the world. And so when we are growing and evolving spiritually, we all have a connection with our beloved, and we should always have direct connection. That's the umbilical cord that we already have. And when we become aware of it, our life changes. But a lot of our growth actually comes from other humans who are evolved and deep and high in their consciousness. And they get to that state because they are close to the beloved. And it's wild. It's wild. I want to read this. It's literally one sentence. So, when I first read it, I actually gasped. I was like, oh my God. And I've read this before. Like I'd read this many, many, many years ago, and I didn't understand it. And that's what's so cool about your spiritual journey, is that you'll read something and be like, oh yeah, that means that. And then 10 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, that means something completely different. So there's no limit to your knowledge and understanding. It's just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. This is from a book called The Call of the Divine Beloved. It's super mystical. It's poetic. But I'm reading an extract from The Four Valleys. It's just one sentence. Um, okay, it's two sentences. I'll read the one before. He says, the first in his statement, O my servant, obey me that I may make thee like unto myself. For I say, be, and it is, and thou shalt say, be, and it shall be. And the word be is quoted and capitalized. So again, for I say be, and it is, and thou shalt say be, and it shall be. When I read that, my interpretation was, holy shit. Literally. We create creation. So the most evolved spiritual souls have the ability to generate Earth and solar systems and universes and galaxies and creatures. It doesn't just come from a divine and then everything's created. This is where spirituality really, everything changes. It changes the game because you realize that as a human, you are such a great force of power. And the more that you evolve spiritually, and you will evolve more when you are connected to the divine beloved, the more expression of the divine creation you have. And that includes creating creation. And it's still always, connected to the umbilical cord of the divine beloved. But you become the one that says, be. Now, isn't that fascinating? Doesn't that like completely change your view of yourself? Like, doesn't that make you realize how amazing you are, how incredible you are, and that you are so much more than this material world, than this body, than this persona, this gender, however you identify, the job that you have, where you live, your money, your financial situation. This is all temporary. And this is one version of you, of the many versions of you that exist and will continue to exist. But the more that you evolve spiritually, the more that you become the generating impulse for creation, both in this world and in all the other worlds of the divine. So it's wild, isn't it? It's so cool. I think it's so cool. And keep it a secret. We don't want everyone to know. I'm kidding. I think everyone should know this. I think it will make you realize how special you really are. And that we have been given such a gift from the beloved. And it's all out of love. It's not because we're needed. It's not because we have to. It's all out of love, our whole existence. And I just think it's so cool what we can see when we peer through the veil and know that there's so much more to this spiritual world than we could have ever imagined. So thank you, my friend. Thank you for being in this space with me. Thank you.